Good morning. How's everyone doing? Fantastic. Parker's always fantastic. All right, let me pray. So, dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for everything that you have done for us and everything you're going to do for us, Lord. And thank you for allowing us to see your presence in our lives and the change that you have made in each and every one of us. Lord, I just ask you to be with me during this devotion, Lord, and just allow me to speak your words and your words only, Lord. Whatever I have on my mind is not of you, so just replace it with your thoughts, Lord. Amen. Okay, so today, do you ever, I'm going to talk about like attention to detail in the small things, which I've done before on a basis of like how even the small things matter, but if we go to Zechariah 4:10, which I even have to find. I probably should open to this first. Okay, there we go. Zechariah 4:10, do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin, to see the plumb line in Zerubbabel's hand. There's a little quotation. But anyway, the Lord does not, do not despise the small beginnings. So let me collect my thoughts here. I have this all planned out. I just want it to come out right. So we've all maybe had a life where we were like, doing great. We all wanted big for ourselves, and we all reached for the biggest things in our lives. I know I did, and I think back, I'm like, I could have been a doctor by now. I could have done this by now, right? But did I do well with the small beginnings, right? The Lord gave me small steps, and some things I skipped over. I could have been working in a nursing home, somewhere small, somewhere to start, but I didn't want that. I brushed that to the side to go into the emergency room, It was stuff like that. So sometimes the Lord is looking at these small beginnings, at these small starts, to see how we are going to do with them before he gives us bigger things, right? So to look at the small beginnings when you're here, it says, do not despise these small beginnings. So I look back on my life and I'm like, okay, I had all these big things, I had all these big opportunities, and now I'm here. But I see that the Lord is using my skills, my stuff that I did, my healthcare stuff here. It's just very small. I'm taking looks at your little boo-boos, right? But it is a small beginning. It's a small start. And the Lord is trying to say, I'm putting you in a place where you could still use that, but use it in the way that I need you to use it in, all right? Some of you, Joe with the restaurants, right? It's a small beginning, right? You're still here. You're still cooking. You're still doing small things. If we have someone that used to do landscaping or something like that, it's still a small thing. But you get what I'm saying with that. So before I spoke on small thing, attention to detail in the small things, as in why we are so nitpicky on little things here, right? A lot of the times it's because those little things are what build up to that big thing. Little things are important, not because of what they are in themselves, but because they can be a part of something greater, right? That can go both ways, right? So our small beginnings can be a part of something greater. We don't know what the Lord has planned for our lives, right? I don't know where I'm going to be working or what I'm going to be doing later on in my life. But while I'm here in the here and now, I have to not despise those small things, and do the little things that the Lord wants me to do, as tedious or annoying they might seem. You still got to do them because he's going to be paying attention to that. On the flip side, we have to watch out for the small things that we're doing and not think anything of it. Oh, I just took a little snack cake and brought it to the house. It's not a big deal. Oh, I just borrowed a cigarette from somebody. It's not a big deal. It is. It's a small thing that can develop into something greater, right? And it could be for the good or for the bad. But you have to make the right choices in that. Luke 16:10. If you are faithful in little things, you will be faithful in larger ones. But if you are dishonest in little things, you won't be honest with greater responsibilities. And if you are unworthy about worldly wealth, who will trust you with the true riches of heaven? Okay, if you are faithful in the little things, you will be faithful in the large ones. But if you are dishonest in little things, you won't be honest with greater responsibilities. So if we take these little opportunities, these little things that the Lord is giving us, and we are faithful with them, we do as we are asked to do with them, then the Lord knows we are going to be faithful with greater responsibilities. This whole program is like that. You start off as a probationary, right? It's the little things that you have to do. It's nothing crazy. And then you transition higher and higher and higher. And as you are being faithful from probationary, the Lord will place you where you're needed. Just because you make it to TC or AC doesn't mean that the Lord is trusting you with that. There's different places you can be put within those phases that shows where the Lord is trusting you and where he's not. So you have to take a look at those things and say, if I'm an AC and I'm still not here, why is that? Maybe it's because I wasn't faithful in that one little thing that the Lord needed me to be faithful in. I don't know, it's like something to take a look at while you're here, right? As a probationary, start doing that, right? Look at all these little things that you have to do, the tedious sweeping of a floor, right? You could vacuum a carpet, but no, you got to sweep it, right? Because if the Lord knows that you're going to do that faithfully, then you get the opportunity to use a vacuum, right? I know it seems stupid, it seems small, but it is true. And it's all scriptural. Like, you have to focus on those small things as something bigger. They're not just annoying things that we've come up with, right? We're not letting you not use a vacuum because we don't trust you. It's because this is where you got to start. You have to start at the very bottom, at the very beginning. My life, I took pride in everything I had. And it was all because of me. I never gave credit to the Lord for anything. I took pride in my job and the things I had, the money I had, all of that. And I lost it all because I wasn't responsible with it. The Lord couldn't trust me with that, right? He couldn't trust me with having a nice house, having a car, having a good job, because I was doing stupid things. I was using drugs while having all this. I was getting all this money and blowing it, right? I wasn't faithful with that. So guess what? He had to put me in a place where I had to start small. I don't have the money that I had. I don't have the job that I had, but slowly things are increasing, right? I'm slowly getting opportunities to make money. I got my car, well, let me rephrase this because I know my mom's watching. My mom allowed me to use the car again. I can't call it my car, and it's not my car. It may have used to be, but it's her car, and she's trusting me to use it, right? So I have to say it that way, and it's only because the Lord has seen that I was faithful in the small things. My mom has developed that trust to be able to allow me to do that, right? Adam and Kelly let me babysit. It's only because they saw that I was faithful in the little things here in the program that they could trust me enough to watch their children, right? Let's go to Matthew 25. 25:14. This is the parable of the loaned money. Well, that's what my heading says. Again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities. He then left on his trip. Okay, look, right there, he gave 5 bags to one, right? 2 bags to another, 1 bag to another, right? Right there is the Lord's hand, and obviously this is the Lord speaking, but right there, if you picture that, that's the Lord's hand. He's like, okay, I know I can trust you with 5, but I know I can only trust you with 1. So it's something to look at in your lives, like, do you think the Lord is going to trust you with 5 bags of money or just 1? Right? Look back on those things and think about that. Be the person that he wants to give 5 bags of silver to, right? The servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. The servant with 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. All right, so the one with the 5 bags and 2 bags went and invested and made more to give back, right? The one with 1 bag hid it away, only came back with the same amount, right? Are we only giving back what we are given, or are we giving back more than we were given, right? If you're here and the Lord is teaching you multiple things along with your spiritual covering, are you giving back to your brothers and sisters that plus more, plus the knowledge and wisdom that the Lord has given to you? Because trust me, there's some of you that know more than I do, and I need to know that, right? Because we all have different aspects of the Bible. We all get something different from these scriptures. I want to know what you get from it, right? I do, because that's going to increase my knowledge, my wisdom. It's going to make me think a little bit more. And I want to be able to give back more than I was given. Trying to debate if I want to just read the rest of this or not. After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they used his money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 5 more. The master was full of praise. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I'll give you more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. Again, it's a depiction of what we do here. You were faithful in handling this small amount. I was able to trust you sweeping the floors, so here you go. Here's a vacuum, right? Sounds stupid and small, but it is. It is really big, because that's the Lord trusting you in the small things, just as he did with this person. And he was able to say, well done, my good and faithful servant. And that is what we want to hear, right? That is what we want to. We don't want to say, well, I couldn't trust you when you swept the floor, so why would I want to let you use a vacuum? I need to find another example, but still, you get what I'm saying. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 1. Sorry. Okay, 1 Corinthians 1:28. God chose things despised by the world, things counted as nothing at all, and used them to bring to nothing what the world considered important. As a result, no one can ever boast in the presence of God. God chose, if you read through the Bible, people or things that seemed small, seemed meaningless, seemed pointless. You look at David, right? He was the youngest. He was small. He wasn't strong. He was a weak man, but God used him, right? Because he saw that he was faithful, and he used one little stone to defeat Goliath, right? So God saw that even the little things were important, even the smallest of us, we felt small in our life. I know I did. I felt like nothing. I felt really low, really small, useless, and worthless. But God has used me for greater things, and he's doing the same for you guys. So take a look at the people in the Bible who he has used. If you look at Rahab, right? She was a prostitute. She wasn't looked upon as someone that was great, someone was good, but God used her, right, to hide the spies. Did she ever think that that was going to happen? No. Why would God use me? Like, what is the purpose of him using me? Someone that is a drug addict, someone that was homeless, someone that had everything and lost it all. Like, what's the point of using me? Like, because God sees the things in us that we don't see. So we have to start from the beginning, back at those small things, start seeing the worth in ourselves. Start pulling out that faith that God has put in us. Faith as small as a mustard seed, right? Just this much. Faith can move mountains, right? Because God knows that's all we need. God likes the small things. God likes the things that seem unimportant. He can use them the most. And I think a lot of it is because, like, you have the rich young ruler who wasn't willing to give up even the smallest things, the meaningless things, to follow Jesus, right? So if it's going to be a lot harder for someone who is stuck in their ways, that's holding on to their wealth and their money and their materialistic things, than someone who is already low, deep down, has nothing already. I have no other choice. I might as well try, right? Because God can build up from that. So don't allow yourselves to get to be the person to where, you start getting a good job, you start getting a car, you start getting money in a house. Like, that comes from the Lord. Don't allow yourself to be the rich young ruler who holds on to that stuff and won't let it go to follow Jesus. Allow yourself to see that that came from Jesus, and as quickly as you have it, it can be taken away, but it's not necessary. It's not needed. It's not something that you need to get into the kingdom of heaven, right? Yes, it's stuff we want. Yes, it's stuff that looks good. It's nice to have, but it's not needed for our purpose, for our calling. What God wants us to do is say, okay, God gave me this, and I appreciate it, and I'm thankful and grateful for it. But I can also share it with others. I can also give to people that need it, right? He wants us to be able to do that, to, again, have those 5 bags of silvers and give back, right? He wants us to do that. So Matthew 14:17. Oh, this is Jesus feeding the 5,000. So, but we only have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, they answered. Bring them here, he said. Then he told the people to sit down on the grass. Jesus took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, looked up toward heaven, and blessed them. Then breaking the loaves into pieces, he gave the bread to the disciples, who distributed it to the people. They all ate as much as they wanted, and afterward the disciples picked up 12 baskets of leftovers. About 5,000 men were fed that day, in addition to all the women and children. So something as small as 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish God can use to feed 5,000, right? So your small knowledge, right, as a probationary even, I know I didn't have much knowledge as a probationary, is enough to feed 5,000, right? So don't think that, oh, well, I read Psalms and, I wanted to tell you this, but you probably already know it. No, don't assume that, right? Spread that. Spread that word. Spread your knowledge with others. Because if I've heard it before, doesn't mean I heard it the way you heard it, right? God speaks to us all differently. So feed the 5,000 with the knowledge that you have, with the things that you have. Do as Jesus would do, because we are capable of doing what Jesus has done, because he is in us. right? Nothing is too small for God to use for his purpose. And then there's just one more thing that I found online that I wanted to read. It says, take a good look at yourself today in light of the past. Hopefully you are spiritually and emotionally more mature than you were 5 or 10 years ago. If this is true, it's most likely the result of many small and disciplined steps taken day in and day out. I pray that when you examine your life a decade from now, you will be encouraged by your growth in character, faith, hope, and love. So that's something that I want you guys to do is look back on your past. Look back at those, even since you've been here, those small little disciplined things of where it's gotten you today, right? Even if someone had just gotten here, yesterday, there's still small little things that are developing your faith, character, and your hope and your love for Jesus. So don't despise those small things. Don't despise the things that you feel are pointless or tedious. Use them, right? And be faithful with them, and then learn how to give to others. That way you can see that the small things are necessary, and those small beginnings are important. I hope you guys got something out of that. I really enjoyed it myself. So, Jerry, can you pray us out?